am Laura, and today we're going to be talking about a few different types of breath work, or pranayama for yoga. This is what we've been working in my class this week. The difference between some of the breath work that people sometimes get confused. So we have ujjayi breath, or the ocean sounding breath, which is pretty much our staple in class. We do ujjayi breath for the majority of the practice so that we have some auditory feedback for the inhale and the exhale, and then we can match that with each of our movements, and we can focus our mind on our breath. One of the most common breath practices that we do specifically, usually in the beginning of practice to build up some heat, to build up some energy, is Kapalabati, or the skull shining breath. And then sometimes there's a little bit of confusion between Kapalabati and Bhastrika, or the bellows breath. So we'll talk about the differences between those, and then the last breath that we're going to go over is the breath of fire, which is what I use when we do our Kundalini class. And they're each a little bit different, but sometimes people get them confused, so we'll go through some of the details. But let's start with the ujjayi breath, the ocean sounding breath. And we're going to tense the back of the throat very slightly so that there's a constriction that the air has to move through. That resistance, as it moves through that constricted area, creates that ocean sound to the breath, and it should feel like the breath is swirling against the soft palate in the back of the throat and the top of the mouth. But it's done in and out through the nose as slowly as you can. And the movement originates from the belly because we're trying to coordinate the abdominal muscles with the opening of the diaphragm. Inhale, open out. Exhale, draw back and up. There's this ballooning out, and then as you exhale, it scoops up. The rib cage pulls in, and the chest drops. So we always talk about the three parts of the breath: the belly, the rib cage, and the chest. So it goes 1, 2, 3, fill as you inhale, and then 1, 2, 3, empty as you exhale. Inhale, open. Exhale, empty everything out. And it has a little bit of that, like a Darth Vader kind of sound to it, but don't take it full Darth Vader, do like a subdued version of that. So the person who's practicing right next to you should be able to hear your breath and coordinate with you, but we don't want the entire room to be able to hear your breath constantly. Now, if you're feeling like you're having trouble getting a handle on that tensing in the back of the throat, the way that we practice that is it's like if you had a piece of glass in front of you and you wanted to fog it up so that you could write a little message in it, you would make kind of a with your throat. It's that same sort of thing, you just close your mouth and do it on your inhale as well. But that's how you can feel where you're actually tensing in your throat. So that's ujjayi breath, sometimes called the ocean sounding breath or the victorious breath. And that's throughout our whole practice, we use ujjayi breath. The next breath we'll do is Kapalabati, really common pranayama practice that we do in the beginning to build up our strength, build up our energy, creates heat in the body. It's really good if you're tired and you want to give yourself some energy. Sometimes they call it the yoga cup of coffee. But this is a breath that's very much with the upper part of the diaphragm, right where the rib cage and the belly meet. And it's an active exhale, and the inhale is totally passive. That's the hard part for people to get sometimes. It's an exhale, the belly and the diaphragm pump up and in at the same time, and as you inhale, or actually as you relax, it's a natural inhale. You're not actually making yourself inhale, but as the belly and the diaphragm relax, it creates a vacuum and draws your inhale in. So it's an active exhale and then passive inhale. Okay? And usually when I'm teaching my students this, we start with the hands on the belly because it helps to be able to feel what the belly is doing, that up and in. It's like a little snap and release, snap and release. So we'll try that for a few breaths. You're going to inhale about 3/4 of the way full, and then as you exhale, you're pumping about 2 to 3 breaths per second. It's a pretty quick exhale. You want to be careful that you're not being so forceful that sometimes people get their shoulders to jump every time they exhale. The upper body has to stay really relaxed and isolate that movement right here where the belly and the rib cage meet. Okay, now the next one, Bhastrika, is an active inhale and an active exhale, but they're slowed down. Instead of that 2 to 3 per second, it's like 1.5 per second. And the Bhastrika comes a little bit lower in the belly, like right around belly button level, right in that area. So we're going to exhale, pull in and up just like we did before, but then for your inhale, you're going to help with that opening in a little bit slower pace. So we'll inhale 3/4 and then start to pump on your exhale. Now sometimes you'll see the Bhastrika done like in the Bikram style where they have the arms like this and they'll do a head movement along with it. And that's sort of a movement. And that just helps to get a little bit more opening through your collarbones and through your lungs when you're pumping it with the arms like that. But it's an interesting addition because it is the bellows breath that actually feels like you're pumping bellows. Now, the last breath that we're going to talk about is the breath of fire. And this is just like the Bhastrika, an active inhale, active exhale. You're doing both, but it's a very short, quick breath. The Bhastrika is just a little bit elongated. So the way that we think of breath of fire is like if there was a dog panting and they have their mouth open and it's really hot and they do a kind of breath. We do that same breath, but we close the mouth and we do it through the nose. And the breath, again, is coming from the muscles in the belly. And it's right about the belly button, maybe a little bit higher than that, that you're drawing back and tucking very slightly up to help with that movement in the diaphragm. But it has to be a really coordinated movement with the abdominal muscles and with the diaphragm. Now, the breath of fire, you're going to feel after doing it for a little bit, you're going to start to get fatigue through here. That's something you have to just build up endurance for to be able to do it for longer. But let's do a practice for a breath of fire. Active inhale, active exhale. Start to slow it down. You can come back into Ujjayi breath, really elongated, slow breath in and out through the nose. And working on those 3 parts, inhaling into the belly, the rib cage and the chest, exhaling chest, rib cage, belly. We want to be careful when we're doing that slow, full, deep breath that we're not filling to the point that we're starting to tense our neck. Call those the accessory muscles for breathing. We don't want to get to that point where we're so full that we're tensing up here. And then on your exhale, same thing. Let the end of your inhale and the end of your exhale have a little bit of softness to them. Even though we're trying to elongate them and there's an activity to it, don't force yourself into that place of strain. Alright, so that was our review of the 4 different kinds of pranayama that we commonly use in our yoga practice. And the Ujjayi breath is just kind of a normal, balanced breath. And then the Kapalabati, the Bhastrika, and the breath of fire are all really vigorous, warming types of breaths. So if you feel like your energy is a little bit low, or maybe you're not raring to go with your yoga practice, sit and do some of that pranayama for a few minutes, and then you'll feel like you actually have the energy to do your practice after that. So it's really, really helpful on those days when you're not feeling as peppy as usual. So I hope you enjoy that. Namaste.